Okay, so this is about control structures and how all power resides in trinities. Now, what I'm about to read you now might seem unrelated at first. However, hopefully, if everything goes the way I'd like it to, it'll all make sense later. So let me read it. No activity can be successfully pursued by an individual who is preoccupied, since the mind, when distracted, absorbs nothing deeply, but rejects everything which is, so to speak, crammed into it. Living is the least important activity of the preoccupied man, yet there is nothing which is harder to learn. Learning how to live takes a whole life. So when I say whole life, it doesn't mean like the time that you're here. It means like a complete, rich experience of that which is available in this life experience we have. And which may surprise you more, it takes a whole life to learn how to die. That was by Seneca. Okay, let me just pause for a moment so I can bring up some slides. It says this is about the Trinity and how all power comes from trinities, and hopefully I'll give it some more depth a little later. So there's a consciousness trinity. The three aspects of your consciousness are your thoughts, actions, and emotions. So to actually create something into reality, first it needs to be a thought. And that thought will stimulate an emotion, which is a driver to action. So let's just keep that in mind while I bring up the next slide. I'm just going to bring an aspect of this slide into it because the rest of it is not relevant to what I'm wanting to share. This is come from Mark Passio, so I do want to credit Mark Passio with a fair bit of the content that I'm putting in today. So I just want to go down to this bit down the bottom here. It says mentalism. For a different state to manifest in the physical world, which is the plane of effects, it must first exist within the mind, plane of causality. Now, there's a very good reason why I'm just bringing that section up. So I'm about to show you how the Trinity works and why the thoughts are the first place one must engage in order to create a reality. So here's the metaphysical Trinity. So you can't actually see this or touch it, smell it, taste it, because it's all in the mind. So we all know about the religious stories of the Holy Trinity, I think it's called. Not that I'm an expert on this topic, but this is just running off some very superficial knowledge here. But there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So that's the Trinity of this power structure that first needed to be established in the human mind. So in order to control our minds, we needed to first believe that there's such a thing as this, I don't know, Father, this authority figure that exists outside of us. None of us can actually find them, but apparently they exist. So we need to believe that it's an all-seeing, all-knowing Father, right? That, you know, you are responsible to. So therefore, you don't have any internal authority. This is all external authority. So yet we are hardwired to actually reject any external authority. And why do I say that? Because if we weren't, every time someone exacted their will over us, we would feel elated, euphoric. But I've not yet seen, and you might be different, but I've not yet seen anyone who, when someone imposes their will on them, actually love it. I've usually seen resistance. That's the most common thing. So there's usually bitterness and animosity, resentment. Those kind of feelings usually come up. Well, there's your indicator. That's that governing set of natural principles that are inside us, the spiritual laws that exist that tell us that we are not meant to be dominated. So just a quick look at this Trinity and how this had to be set up first in order for us to be controlled. So if you can understand that that had to be set up in our mind first, so then that's the plane of causality, right? That's what causes it. And so that belief then stimulates an emotion. So let me go back to the other slide. And that emotion is fear. So this thought that there is an external authority that you know, we are bound to, that's going to punish us if we don't do as we're told, stimulates an emotion, and that emotion is fear. And then that fear stimulates some kind of action. Now, going back to this Trinity here, the metaphysical one, I just wanted to cover something quite important, and that is the idea of that external father figure, that all-seeing, all-knowing, and how that actually controls us. So just let me pause for a moment. Well, that's the slide I was after. It controls us through being afraid. So when we're afraid, it has a contracting effect on our consciousness because it narrows the boundaries of truth acceptance, what we're willing to accept as far as what we believe is true. So fear as a force is a force which influences us to become closed to truth. So truth is that which is verifiable, which is universally discoverable. So it's not a belief. It's actually that which we can all discover without requirements of our belief. So it's irrelevant to the belief. So it's provable. So fear is the force that shuts down our awareness of those things that are provable and verifiable. And so that's what happens when you start believing in this Trinity structure, right? The Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Now, the other thing about that is anyone who's religious in the sense of believes that Jesus was an actual factual event, like a living, breathing man that walked the earth, probably isn't going to like what I'm about to say next. So just be warned that maybe this isn't for you. So that whole Jesus and God stuff that's come out in the Bible, well, there's another way that you can see it as far as like an allegory of a spiritual teaching, more so than its actual fact. Where the God in that story, I'm pretty sure there was like something about Abraham. He was commanding Abraham to kill his first son, something like that. Well, that's actually meant to represent the actual primitive part of your brain, the action part, the part that has that reflex response and that fight, flight, or freeze when it's under some kind of serious distress. So it's got that survival mechanism that it's kill or be killed. So it's an allegory into what can happen if the conditions of life are such that they are what you believe are your choices now, that you will flip your lid. Now you think about any time you've ever flipped your lid and you've acted in a way that was quite extreme to your normal behavior or the consistent behavior, and how badly you felt afterwards. Well, that's like an allegory about that. And then the Son, right? So that is the thoughtful part, right? So that's the part. And if you think about the Bible, it has bits in it that are quite considered. And then the Holy Spirit is the emotional part. So that's the the path where there's all compassion. Now I might have got that wrong. It could be the other way around. It could be the Son is the compassionate bit and the Holy Spirit is the considered, because I'm not an expert on that stuff. So it'll be one or the other. Not super important. But the point is that there's three aspects in those Bible teachings and those readings that you have, as far as like an allegory into spiritual teachings, right? So there's three aspects of our consciousness: when we're considered, when we are compassionate and giving, and also when we can be quite extreme and murderous. So that's that murderous rage that lives inside us if the conditions are there, if we're pushed to the point of no return. So if you look at it from that perspective, then it has lots of merit because there's a spiritual teaching in there, and it's all about the conditions of life. And what that really is saying is that if we don't live in accordance with natural law, then this is what's going to happen. So it's actually a quite valuable teaching if you can understand it from that perspective. But if you see it as a concrete fact, of factual events, like a concrete description of factual events, then it's actually going to lead you into being a good slave. And like I said, the religious people aren't going to like that. So just to give you some, depth to that one. So I'm just going to leave it there for this one because it's going to go longer than I like, and I'm going to pick it up. But I'm just going to show you what we're going to work towards as to what the Trinity is. So this is what we're working towards just before I finish up. This here, this all-seeing eye, still in a triangle, you see that? So there's a big connection there that I'm going to carry on and explain in the next videos.